2 years after that book came out, we get a note from someone that says, "Hey, Del Sols don't have a back seat." And, and Doug's like, "No, I was in the back seat of this thing in college. I may have been under a little bit of influence, but I got stuffed behind the driver's."
Welcome to the Two Authors Podcast, an entertaining chat show hosted by best-selling mystery and thriller authors Douglas Pratt and Nicholas Harvey, in lively, humorous and informative conversation with distinguished guests who share their thoughts and experience about forging a successful author career.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Brought to you, as always, by the absolute best formatting solution in the world, Vellum.
Vellum.
You hear that chime?
Vellum.
Did you know? Hey, you and I both write long series, but you know that Vellum has a really quick, you can just select a box set and drop all of them into it and it just pops out.
I happen to know that because I've done it twice. I have 2 box sets.
Well, see, you're pretty smart.
I'm not, but that's how easy Vellum is to use.
That's how easy it is. It's so
that's
easy.
That's a selling point. 2 dumbasses can use it.
Dumbass can figure it out. Yes, that's pretty amazing. It is really awesome though. It makes it very nice and easy if you are putting together a box set, just to drop it in there. Formats it nicely, puts little dividers in, all sorts of fun things. So definitely check it out if you haven't. And I can't tell you how many times I see on Facebook or on Reddit or on these forums people going, "How do I format a book? What do I do?" And then my comment is always, just get Vellum. I mean, it's easy. It is so intuitive.
And it's purple. We've mentioned that before, I think, but it's worth mentioning it again because I love the way it looks against our logo colors. It's really
It does
cool.
look very good with the blue. I think it's nice of them to have matched us that perfectly. So, big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. If you guys feel like you're getting value from this show, then support us by going to patreon.com/The Two Authors Podcast. You can find a link in our show notes. We have all sorts of cool extras in there. Just in the free tier, you can listen to the podcast, but you can chat around with us, and for just a few dollars more, not even as much as it costs to get you a cup of coffee or a personal
less than
pan
a box
pizza.
of cereal. It's less than a gallon of gas.
It's less than a dozen eggs.
Don't even talk about eggs.
Whatever. But it's less than the chicken nuggets. So instead, you can get our little podcast nuggets that we provide you.
Look what he did there.
Because they are packed full of nutritious information, just loaded down with things that you need every day. And it's just an opportunity, one of the few opportunities you have to actually look at our shining, happy faces. So I think it's well worth, $3 to join. Also today, you'll get some bonus questions after the guests and stuff like that. So we've got new added material we're throwing in there all the time. So, but speaking of guests, we have a really cool guest today, and you know her. You were just on her show not that long ago, but we're going to talk with Sara Rosett, and we'll chat with her shortly. But first, I got a quick question for you.
What do you got?
This question comes from Nancy Kidd in Claremont, New York. And she asked, what's one piece of writing advice you completely ignored at first and later realized was absolutely right?
Originally, I did the 2, just golden sins. I did my own cover, and I just made a cover that I liked the look of, and I didn't even consider genre or anything. And I didn't get it professionally edited. I ran it by the old friends who were really good at English kind of thing.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Well-educated folks, and did that. And initially,
pick out a typo to save their lives. Yes. I had the same
they actually would find a lot of stuff, but then they missed a lot of stuff, as it turns out. So, yeah. I mean, they're just the no-brainers. I think, when I did it, I wasn't tuning into podcasts. I wasn't on following the site. And I just wrote the book and wanted to put it out there. And then when I got serious about it 2 years later, because the book just sat there, on Amazon, it had sold 100 copies in the first 2 years, I think. And then when I got serious about it a couple of years later, then I realized, I've got to do this right. And then I got it edited. And then I still made the mistake with the covers. And I'm pretty handy with the art stuff. So the covers were okay.
A couple of covers were missing. You've done pretty well.
I've learned a lot now. Yeah, now I can knock out a decent cover, and I've done it for the TA group, and I did it for our series, and a couple of them, and they came out okay. But back then, I really still didn't identify genre and things like that, so I shouldn't have done it. Yeah, but they're the two big things, and they are just take them to the bank, man. Just
book covers definitely, because and when I first,
and the editing, you got to.
Oh, totally, yeah. When I first did mine in 2011, finding book covers wasn't even. I mean, it's a lot easier now, and in 2019 even than 2011. Nobody was doing them at that point. Everything was homemade, and mine was one I made on paint, and it was abysmal. We should, one day we'll post that up there in our Patreon or something for people to see our terrible covers.
On my website, I have a history of the 12 Mile Bank covers, actually.
Oh, there you go. So
yeah, and my favorite is still the very first one.
So covers are important. I think a lot of people miss that one, and that is, and I did it. I ignored it at first too. The other thing that I think, besides what you mentioned, and I think this is one that I put off for a long time because I was like, I didn't want to spend the money on it. I didn't have any money to spend on it. I wasn't making money on these books, like you said, but advertising and learning how to advertise it was vitally important. I think it's one of those things, especially when you're starting out, you don't realize how important it is. It plays into so much. We've talked about this before. Relevance and history on Amazon helps with your algorithm, and you're just using advertising as a way to kind of nudge it a little bit. So anyway, on to this week's guest. Sara Rosett is a USA Today best-selling author of over 30 cozy historical mysteries, a little bit of suspense in there. She also co-hosts the Wish I'd Known Then podcast, which you were very sexy on. I was like, man, blown away by it. When there, she helps demystify the writing life one conversation at a time. So she actually does some smart things versus listening to us. So, but anyway, let's welcome Sara to the show. Welcome to the show, Sara. It's great to have you here today.
Hi, I'm excited to talk to y'all.
Yeah, long time no see you, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sara was kind enough to have me on her show with Jamie, the Wish I'd Known Then podcast, which is...
they ran out of everybody?
Yeah, they ran out of guests. They're like,
we got nobody left who can come on.
We got no one.
Yeah.
We got no one for next week. Who are we going to get? And Jamie's like, I know this dude. We'll get him. He's desperate.
It was
a great interview. It was a great interview.
Well, thank you. And we love your show. You got great content always, and super guests. And then there's me, but there's super guests.
Oh, you were a super guest. You were very entertaining.
Yeah,
you were. It was awesome.
But you are like, your show is like the grown up, gone to college, educated, and we are like the adopted step kid punk that's always in trouble kind of show.
Yeah.
So just to give you an idea.
We're the ones that we like to pants the other authors in the process. So
Jamie and I, we say we're semi-professional podcasters. Like we're doing our best, but it's not our full-time gig, and just bear with us, please.
It's a great show.
Yeah. And we only do this so we can hang out together and talk once a week. So.
I know. That's kind of why Jamie and I did it. We were like, let's get together and do a podcast and we can talk to other people and it'll be fun.
Yeah. Our wives are like, we're tired of you talking to us. Can you just go talk to Nick or something like that? So.
Yeah. Especially if it's about writing, publishing stuff. They're like, go find somebody else to talk to, please. Yes.
So, well, let's just kind of jump in. Like, so why don't you just kind of tell us, how did you get started writing? Give us a little bit about your history and how long you've been published.
Well, I mean, I'd always wanted to be a writer. I loved reading. I loved books. My favorite types of books were mysteries. And my husband was in the military when, I went to school, majored in English lit, which is, not great for a career path. But then I ended up getting married and my husband was in the military. So we were moving all the time anyway. So it's really hard to keep a job because you're the trailing spouse. You're following your husband around the country wherever he goes. And I was like, I'm going to try this writing thing and see if I can write a book. And like 6 years later, I actually got it published traditionally, and it was a mystery. And I wrote that series for a long time. I think 10 books in that series. But then while I was in the middle of doing that, I found out about indie publishing. And I was like, this is fascinating. Tell me more. And learned about it through podcast. And that's one reason Jamie and I do the Wish I'd Known Then, is because that's kind of how we figured out all this indie stuff, because the rules were totally different from traditional publishing, I had to totally start over because all my rights that I had, all the books I'd written so far were with the traditional publisher. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I have to start a new series. And I did that. And it did okay, but it was not to market. And so I was like, okay, maybe if I write just a straight cozy, because the first one I wrote was more travel, adventure. It was like the book that I'd always wanted to write that no one had ever wanted to take. And there was a reason for that. I mean, it does okay, but it's not like a great seller. So I wrote a cozy in a cozy series, and it did better. And then I kind of moved into traditional, like 1920s country house mysteries, and that's done really well. So it's taken me a while to kind of find my place, but that's kind of how I got into the indie world, and I just love it.
What year did you publish your traditionally published, and then what year did you publish indie?
My first traditional published book came out in 2006, and then my first indie book, I think, was 2012. And for a while, I was doing both. And then I decided, I really like the indie. I'm going to go all in on that. Yeah.
Though you've written a lot of mystery subgenres, though multiple actually. Like you got cozy, historical, and like some light suspense stuff. So how do you approach each differently, or is there like a common thread when you're plotting them and writing them?
Well, my books are pretty heavy on the mystery plot. Like I want them to have a really good mystery. And so usually that's what comes first. And sometimes I just it's each one that has like a different kind of, I don't know what you call it, like catnip for me. Like the travel series was because I could write about all these fun places that I had been to and it was interesting. And then the one that was the cozy, that one, I set it in an English village because I was like, who wouldn't want to go there? A cozy reader, of course, is going to want to go there. And I made it about a woman who is a location scout. She was working to find locations for a Jane Austen film. And those are all things that I was interested in. So I was like, oh, let's use all this. And then the 1920s one, I love history and I love finding these little details and incorporating them into the text. And just, it's just a lot of fun to find those authentic things that make it authentic and maybe help somebody learn something that they didn't know about before.
So what's the driving force when you're looking at these different, because you've definitely shifted them in different lanes, right? They're very distinct. So what drives that? Is it like does it start with the character? Does it start with the setting? Does it start with an era? Is there one thing that drives it, or is it a combination?
It's kind of a combination. I would think setting is very important to me. That's kind of like one of the top, I would say, probably that and character, because it is important to me, like the setting where it's set, that it's a very vivid place that helps people go there in their imagination. So that's really important. And then the characters, I really like writing about, just different, all my characters, they're similar in that they're all kind of spunky, plucky characters that, get involved in things that are bigger than themselves, but they want to figure out what's going on instead of running away. Your cozy heroine kind of has to be that way. So that they have that in common as well. But I try and differentiate so that they have different challenges and things that are going on. Because even with a cozy, which is pretty, like a flat arc story, because it's more episodic usually, I want them to have something that's going on in their life, some challenge, something that they're learning, that they're kind of are going through, that they have to get through. And so that's important to me when I'm writing too, especially for the series. Usually it's a series arc.
So you spend a good bit of time trying to work out the subplots just as well, just because that's important as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I feel like if I don't have that, then like I can write a great mystery, but it needs that extra layer to it, of the character.
A lot of travel stuff. So can we talk about, this is my favorite part about writing, especially in weird places, is the research. So like, do you do that like up front? Do you was that part of your preparation, like go and research it? Or do you just do or you spend a lot of time on Google Earth like I do sometimes, depending on where you put it? So
both. I do both. I love to go to the places that I write about. And a lot of times we'll visit somewhere and I'll think, okay, I have to write about this because it's just so interesting. And then I always take tons of pictures when I'm there. My family would be like, oh, come on, Mom, we've got to go. And I'm still taking, pictures of the street and all these weird things that like how the streets look, how the lights look, how the city's laid out, things that later on you look at and you go, well, that's not very scenic. And I'm like, yes, but it's important. I might need to know that detail. And then, later on I'll go back and I'll use Google Earth and stuff to figure out like where things were. And it's been interesting doing the 1920s series, because so much has changed. A lot of things that I would like to go visit don't exist. So I just have to I use a lot of old maps. Old travel guides are excellent because there's some that they have the color maps that fold out and they're just beautiful. They're like a work of art in itself, because they're just beautiful. But then they're so detailed on if you're in this place, this is where you want to stay. This is the next train. These are the times you can take them. This is where you can go. So that helps me because I'm a little I tend to have I want too much detail. Becca Syme says you want confirmation that it's correct. And so if I have something like that lays it all out, I'm like, okay, yes, she could get on a ship in the south of France and get to Egypt on Tuesday. And that helps me keep going, even though it never may appear in the story.
I love that. That drives me nuts too. I have to make sure that it was they could leave here and get there. When they take off in one place and they land another, and their 8-hour flight only took 25 minutes. It's wait a second, let's get this right.
Or they land on the wrong day, crossing the date line, and you're like, wait a minute. Would that work? Is that even possible?
Oh, throw the date line in and it's all nice.
And never even take the old railway. Yeah, so
the old railway maps, in the UK and stuff, are amazing. And you get it starts stringing together towns that were important places for that era.
There's a really cool app that I've used before, and it just says old maps, and so it will actually lay on top of. It just works with Google Maps, so you can pull it up and it will lay on. You can pick where you are and find. And it's not always 100% accurate because sometimes it just depends on what it pulls out of the research that's gotten filed away. But you get it's kind of cool if you're, especially here in the States. I don't know if it'd work in the UK or Europe or anything like that, but it's really neat for here, just to kind of see what was where you were standing. So
it basically gets rid of all the strip malls.
Yeah.
So cozies has been around for a long time, and they're very very packaged, right? I mean, there's a lot of tropes that are really important to it. Have you found that those boundaries are changing? And especially if you move in some different edge of the subgenres within cozy?
Yeah, they changed a lot because I feel like all the markets, all the genres are becoming more and more niche. Now you can have, you couldn't have a travel cozy. And that was one reason I had trouble selling that idea to anyone, because cozies were set in a small town in the US in traditional publishing. And now you can have a travel cozy, you can have a cozy that doesn't have murder in it, and it's more just like a light mystery. And in my mind, a cozy always has to have a dead body. If it doesn't have a dead body, I used to say, is it a cozy? But now there's whole indie authors that have a great career writing these kind of cozies that they're more, I would say that they have more characteristics with small town romance than they do with mystery sometimes. And then there's cozies that are edgier, that have characters that swear, whereas a lot of times, that's kind of considered a no-no, cozy
that's
readers.
That's pretty bad.
Don't like that.
Those little,
they're generally clean, right?
They're super clean normally, but then there is kind of this genre that's emerged that's kind of it kind of straddles cozy and just traditional, or just mystery, or maybe thriller a little bit. And, there are readers that love that. So, they want the cozy small town setting, but they don't want it to be too sweet, too saccharine, in a way. They want a little more realism. And, so I feel like there's all different kinds that you can write.
Well, hey, so you already kind of mentioned a little bit, but so you co-host the Wish I'd Known Then podcast with Jamie Albright, and you have another one about mystery books. And what was that one called?
It's just called Mystery Books Podcast.
Mystery Books Podcast.
SEO, here we go.
All right. So on the Wish I'd Known Then podcast, you talked to authors about lessons learned. You have a great series of questions that are really informative. So we're going to turn the tables on you now. So what's the one thing you wish you'd known when you started?
I wish I had known that things would not stay the same, because I started out traditionally published, and I remembered hearing about ebooks, and I was like, oh yeah, that's not a big deal. That's a flash in the pan. That's going to be a trend and it'll be gone. And little did I know, the whole world was going to change. Publishing was going to change. And it would make a huge difference in my career once I figured out what was going on. And I was just completely oblivious to what was happening. And if I had known, I would have been writing books and banking them so that I could publish them So I would have a backlist, which I did not. I had to start from scratch, which was fine. It worked out. And we're seeing it again as everything's changing, with all the indie publishing now, it's changing again. So you can never really rest,
It definitely feels like we're on the cusp, right? Yeah. It feels like right at the moment there is big changes afoot, not just the whole AI thing. Yes, I said it, AI. Everything that's going on with that and the conversations and everything, right? But there's also other things going on right now with between Facebook, Amazon, everything. It feels like there's a fairly big shift happening, and you definitely could do with a crystal ball at the moment.
Oh, that'd be nice. Who's got that?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I think that's true. Everything's been in flux for the last 15, 20 years. I guess it probably always has been. We just have to kind of understand that, and it's what we've always done isn't the way we always have to do it either, or can do it sometimes. So which kind of brings to the next question I have for you, which I've noticed that you've been doing these special editions now. So they've kind of become like a big part of your business strategy. And so what brought about the idea of doing that? And so what are some of the things that you found work well and maybe don't work so well for special editions? So
we had Monica Leonel and Russell Nolte on our podcast years ago, and they were talking about Kickstarter and doing special editions. And it was like a whole new world. It was one of those things I was like, wow, I've never heard of doing a Kickstarter for a book, a special edition. And it just opened up all these new possibilities, because before, we could do print books, but they were the very generic black and white interior, paperback. You could do a hardback, but it was hard to do anything special with it. So yeah, once I found out about the possibility of doing these, I thought this is a way that if my readers are interested in it, I can give them something special. And I felt like it would kind of take me off there was a pattern there for a while in the indie author community where you were trying to release a book at least every year. That was considered kind of slow, and it would take me off, take some of that pressure off, that if I could do a special edition every once in a while, or if I could bring out my books as a special edition first, then you can make a higher profit on it when it first comes out, because it's a unique limited time thing, which we didn't have that possibility before. And it was just, it looked so cool. The end pages.
They do. You held we should say it was his audio. So Sarah held one of her new special editions up, and it's sprayed edges. It's absolutely gorgeous. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, it has color interior, and I get to do some of the things that are, it's just not really, don't work as well in just a trade paperback. So like it has color on the every chapter heading. And then it has, I found character images. I've done commissioned character sketches, to go in some of the special editions. And it just lets your readers, I feel like I'm getting to share with them, hey, this is what I think the character might look like. This is what, they might wear, and just stuff that you don't normally do.
I would imagine that having a fairly faithful following and a big newsletter list and things like that must play into it at the beginning, right? So you've got to be able to communicate with these people and let them know it's out there. So did you have a pretty good newsletter list going?
Yeah, and I communicate pretty often. At least originally it was like only when I had a new release. But then as I got into the indie world, I learned about how people keep in touch with their readers more. And I was like, oh, well, I can do that. And so now I try to email at least twice a month and just keep everybody updated on what's going on. And a lot of times I don't have anything new to release because I don't release books really that quickly. So I just share books that I've been reading or fun, interesting things that I've found that are kind of bookish related. And I think that it did pay off, because people were like, oh, you have something new? Tell me about it. Let's see what it is. And when I did the first one, I had no idea if people would be interested, and approached it. I thought, okay, this is a test to see if anybody wants these special editions. And if they don't, that's okay. I can go do something else. But they did want it and they liked it. And I was actually floored at how many people were excited about it and really wanted. And it was a special edition of the first 1920s book, The Murdered Archley Manor, which it had been out for ages. And I was like, you guys are going to pay $40 for this book that you already have? And they were just excited because it was such a beautiful book. It was interesting and different. And I put some bonus material in there that wasn't in the original.
Right. And did you do a Kickstarter, or did you just do it through your website?
I did a Kickstarter. I've done 2 Kickstarters. I enjoyed them both. They were great, but they're so much work. So lately I've transitioned to just releasing it on my store. Now that I have a Shopify store, I release it on my store first to my readers. I think I could probably make more money if I did a Kickstarter, but I feel like I'm getting more time back. That's the trade-off,
So on the store, do you still do it that it's a pre-order thing, that it's coming out, by your spot in line? Because the Kickstarter self-funds, right? So
Yes. No, I think last time I did have like a sign up and you will get this in a week, it'll launch in a week. But this time I'm doing this second one in the spinoff series. It's going to go up probably like next week. And I think I'm just going to launch it to my list first and say, you guys get the first crack at this. And I'm thinking I'm going to have something special that, like, if you're one of the first 50 people to order, first 20 people, I'll send you a special bookmark or something like that, a little incentive, because it will eventually be available on just the retailers, but it will just be the regular edition. So I want to give my readers a reason to order from me. And the first reason would be that it is exclusive and you can only find it on my store, this special edition. But then I figure a little extra incentive can't hurt if it's, a bookmark or a special download or something.
So you're never going to put the special edition like up on any of the Amazon, Barnes & Noble,
No.
Okay.
No. And I feel like it wouldn't be, you could do the cover, and I think Amazon now you can do the color interior, but I don't think the pricing would allow me to do what I can do through the special edition,
And the Kickstarter, was it a limited number? So you say, hey, we're going to do 100 of these and that's what we're trying to fund, or it's just however many people sign up?
It was just however many people signed up, but I was like, limited time. It's only available here. This is the only place it will ever be available. And I just pushed it. I think I had it for about 2 weeks. And that was plenty long enough for me because, and I did all the things that you were supposed to do. I did a bunch of like promotion and it was exhausting. It was fun, but it was exhausting to me. And some people really love it and they do a couple a year, and I couldn't do that.
Some people are doing them like once a month, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So.
The thing that was really tiring for me was I signed them all. So like the hardcover, I had to have them mailed to me, then I signed them, and then I sent them back out. And that just took a lot of time. And like mentally, I couldn't really move on until I had all that done. But like, you've got to get all the orders in, then you have to order the books and you have to wait for them to be shipped, and then you have to do it all and send it back out. So that was really about like 2 months. And I feel like that was kind of just treading water while I was waiting for that. So that was another reason I was like, I think I'll try it on my store.
I can see how it takes up a lot of focus. So, okay. So another thing that is intriguing to me that you're about to kick off, I believe, is a subscription letter. Tell us what you mean, Sarah.
Okay. Yeah. Most people are like, what are you doing? That doesn't make sense because everything we tend to do a lot of digital stuff. So this is an actual physical letter. I'm going to have people sign up for a year that they can purchase a whole year's worth of letters. And it's a story told through letters. So it's like an episodic story. It's about novel length or novella length. And it will be mailed out every 2 weeks over the course of the year. So I'm going to launch it this fall and have it start going out like around Christmas time. So hopefully people will pick it up for a gift. I did this, I kind of experimented with that first Kickstarter. And it was one thing that people could purchase was I did a short story, and I think it was 8 letters and mailed out over 8 weeks. And I kind of refined my process of, how it all works. But my readers loved it. And I just was like, people like getting something in the mail that's not a bill or junk. And I feel like our world people want that real tactile experience. I think that's why like vinyl records have come back, and that's a thing. And, personal experiences are a thing now, whereas before did we even talk about, I'm going to give somebody a personal experience for their birthday present. I'm like, what? That would have been crazy a few years ago.
Yeah. Especially the demographic, right? I mean, cozy mystery. I mean, for all of us
older,
in mystery thrillers, it's an older, but cozies you definitely feel are an older demographic who grew up with letters.
I do like that retro feel too as well. So you know what? I think, Nick, we should probably do one and put it out on 8-track. and we can see if we could just like send it out,
I bet there would be people who would be so excited.
Just directly.
Podcast on 8-track.
Podcast on 8-track. We could do a special edition. You can, only like 4 people in the country could listen to it, but it'd still be cool.
But it would be so cool because it would be vintage and people would be like, totally look at this vintage thing that we got, especially if it was like that burnt orange,
Oh, totally. We had to get a picture of Nick and I doing something psychedelic, like we were on a Jethro Tull album or something.
Oh my God.
Led Zeppelin. Cool. I could see them long hair or something.
Yeah. So it's going to be like a story. So is the story, is this crafted as though the story is like you're literally, two people are writing letters back and forth to each other type thing? Or is it just, it's a letter and saying, hey, here's the next episode, and then you write out the story?
There are people who have done that. I've seen it online where you have the letters back and forth between people, but I felt more comfortable with this one. The one that I did in the Kickstarter, it was a letter from the main character in that book, and it's like a whole little side story that's you don't get anywhere else. And it's just a letter she's writing to her cousin. And that conceit, I really like that. But for this longer one, this one that I'm working on now will be 24 letters. And I was like, okay, I need something different. And I remembered that in the second book in the historical series, I have a character, the main character, Olive, gets hired to go look around this little village and see if she can figure out what's happened to this author who's gone missing. They want to keep it quiet. They don't want to hire the police. So she goes there. And so I just had a couple of lines like, this is what this author wrote. And I was like, you know what? What if this is like a story within a story? What if you can get these letters that are these drafts that this fictional author wrote for her stories? And I already had like, okay, one takes place on a golf course, one takes place on a yacht, one takes place on a train. And so they're kind of in the same world, but they're basically like, the conceit is that it's this author's notebooks when she wrote her drafts. And it's just split up into like a little episodic story. And I've had my cover designer format them for me and illustrate them with photographs and illustrations, like vintage looking photographs and little clip art type things. So like it'll look like a page from a notebook and maybe it's got like a flower pressed in there or, a little photograph of what the village street looked like. So it's taken me so much longer than I thought it would. Of course, it always
does. That's a lot of work. What you just described there, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm tired. I need a nap just listening to you. So, wow.
But I mean, I didn't do the designing because I can't do that. That's not my forte, but we're almost to the end. And then I think, I think my readers will really like it. And I did hear when I did the other one, I had a friend who ordered it and she said, I think it was either her teenage daughter or teenage son was like, oh, you got another one of your letters? That's cool, Mom. That's a cool thing. And so I was like, okay, so if it's appealing to the mom and the kids, then I'm happy.
If the kid just didn't scoff at it, then you're already ahead of it.
You're reading a cozy mystery letter.
You got a letter, Mom. Isn't that fancy?
Have you introduced the idea that it's coming? Have you started taking subscriptions, or are you going to do a big announcement? How long are you going to runway it?
I want to launch the special edition first. So I feel like I don't want to have too many things going on. Although, really, when I did the Kickstarter, I had the special edition and the letters, so I could probably do both. But for my focus, for my peace of mind, I'm going to do the special edition first. And then I'll start telling my list about it and have them, sign up and so I can let them know, like specifically the people that are interested. And then I'll probably try and do some ads for it as well, just to kind of get the word out.
Well, we have one other question we ask everybody here. So if you listen, then it's kind of curious, what do you think your author's superpower is?
I would say probably research, because I just love to research, and I have no problem like going down a rabbit hole and spending 2 hours like searching, like, did they have door locks or doorbells in 1923 London? Stuff, really weird stuff. Or like, did cars have windshield wipers? When did they get windshield wipers? Things like that for the historical. And then I always run across some really weird, interesting fact that I'm like, oh, this might be a clue. This might be a red herring. This could be, somebody's quirky habit that they have, So I love that. And I love, finding like original text, like the guidebooks that are actually from like the 1910s, or diaries of people who traveled or lived back then, or autobiographies of people who lived during the time period I'm writing. I just love that. But like the more recent history, there's a lot of people that know very specific details about cars and trains, train journeys. Oh my goodness, don't get those wrong.
It's like the weapons and stuff. We mess up on a gun, and man, people will correct me in a heartbeat. Yeah, it's always kind of crazy. So,
or a backseat in a car, Doug.
Seat in a car, yeah.
Doug, well, I got to tell you this because it's so freaking funny. So, and I missed it completely. So, Doug had a college experience where he was stuffed into the backseat. What is this car, Doug?
The Honda Del Sol.
Honda Del Sol. The Honda Del Sol. Remember those little
piece of
things?
shits. Yes. P.O.
Yeah. So we wrote it in a story because he said, yeah, I knew this guy with the Honda Del Sol. So we wrote this piece of crap car into the story. And it was throughout the book that we wrote together. And then like, what is it? 2 years after that book came out, we get a note from someone that says, "Hey, Del Sols don't have a back seat." And, and Doug's like, "No, I was in the back seat of this thing in college. I may have been under a little bit of influence, but I got stuffed behind the driver's." So we looked at it, and it has like this package tray half-ass kind of section thing where you can put bags. There's no seats back there at all. And
I'm telling you, I was folded up, and I don't know how my fat ass got back there, but I was in this. it was as much a seat as anything else, I would say. So.
All right,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So, all right, one, Doug lied because he does that. We didn't have one more question. We have two because we always spin the wheel. So we've got a wheel spin.
We do have a wheel spin, so. It's not getting quite.
It's got a limp. It's got a gimp to it.
It does have a gimp. It's a little crooked. You have a really special question. I don't even know how this question ended up on this wheel, but it is.
How did this end up on the wheel? It's amazing.
Yeah, but what's your favorite thing about working with Jamie?
Oh, okay. Jamie.
We've asked like 6 people that, and they're like, "Jamie who?"
I'm like, wait.
So finally,
it can be any Jamie too. You can.
That's true. Everybody knows Jamie.
No, I think I better answer for Jamie Albright. Yeah. She is so much fun, and she'll just dive in and do anything. She really has no fear about a lot of things that really lock me up. I'm like, oh no, I can't do that. So she will just do it, and she is very good at like getting us going. She's so like I'm more like the detail person, and she's like the fun person. She's like, let's get everybody together. She's the one that like generates the excitement for the podcast. Yeah.
You're like the host and you run everything, and then she's like the color, commentator that goes in and talks about how they're spinning off the racetrack or what
and she's so good at like. She's good at drawing people out. Like sometimes we'll have a guest that really doesn't have, like they have good things to say, but maybe they're nervous or, they don't quite know how to expand on a topic. And Jamie's really good at like pulling the details out of them and making people feel comfortable and helping them share their story. She's so good at that.
That wasn't Nick when he was on there. I heard him. He just talked and talked and talked. So
they couldn't shut me up.
Which is good. We like that.
Yeah, I understand. Well, you try doing it with him because he just talks and talks and talks anyways.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. This has been brilliant. We really appreciate it. And good luck with all these special editions and your letters. I love this idea.
Yes, and everybody check out the podcast, all 3 of them, if you're into, any one of those. So they'll be on the show notes. So
yeah. Check out the show notes. We'll put them all in there.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.
She's delightful.
She is delightful. And, I'm surprised she had you on your show. Is. I mean, like she and Jamie are very nice. You're kind of like scraggly.
I'm kind of like they don't invite me in everywhere.
In the sweet, nice way. I mean, you're a nice kind of scraggly. So
I want to do special editions so bad. I just don't know that if in my genre it would work. I mean, I'm definitely going to do something. The 10-year anniversary of my very first book will be in 27, so I'm going to do something then for sure. With it.
Diamond Reef is the 5-year anniversary. I think this month, maybe in the last couple of days. But and I thought about doing one, and I kind of wanted to do one, not a hardback, but I wanted to do a special edition that was like a pulp fiction look, like a pulp cover from, have that adventure style look that kind of just dates it, and maybe make it kind of cool looking. But I haven't pulled the trigger or even really thought about it other than just that'd be kind of fun to do. So So
I think it's neat. It's you got to dive in, right? You just don't know quite what the reaction's going to be. But I think I think certain genres lend themselves to it more than others. I mean, certainly.
Yeah, romance and romantasy, those are really big. Cozy mysteries are obviously doing really well. The epic fantasies, oh man, and even some sci-fi stuff, phenomenal. It's nice to hear that she's doing it with mysteries, because I think that's got some, I would love to see some stuff like that. Yeah.
But they look so cool, and it's all the neat features you can do now are so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, very inspiring. So this letter idea, I'd heard about somebody else doing this. I mean, it was going around
I've seen a couple
while
people
ago.
do
Someone
that.
went ballistic with it, like it went huge. And so I think it's a great idea. Again, it's if you have that really super interactive audience and someone, people that will.
And I think you got to realize
that
is a thing that your audience is going to want. So if you're starting out, that's probably not the way to jump right to it, because you don't have an audience who's ready to buy something, which could be considered. I'm not sure what she's charging for it. It seems reasonable no matter what, but it could be considered extravagant if you don't have any, fans. But if you have a fandom, that's it's amazing. It sounds like something we've heard a lot of people do something similar. So I am impressed with it.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Support the show on Patreon. If you think there's value in us two knuckleheads talking to some very intelligent people, then this is how you can support that at patreon.com/the Two Authors Podcast. It's about the price of a cheap coffee a month to show your support and subscribe. And we've got a ton of bonus stuff in there. We just recorded another bonus with Sarah. We do an extra question with our guests. It's on video as well, so you get to hold your hand up in front of the screen to block us out, so you can look at just the guest. But I think we're offering up some good stuff.
That's pretty cool.
So take a look. Yeah. Big thanks to our friends at Vellum for their support. We really appreciate them. Go to tryvellum.com/2 authors to find out more. And in the show notes, we'll have links to everything. Make sure you check out the Wish I'd Known Then podcast, because despite my episode, it is a fantastic podcast.
Yeah. If there's only one episode you can listen to, it should be this one. But if not, then it should definitely be Wish I'd. Yeah.
It should be the next
totally
one.
Be them.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We really appreciate it. Until next time, be cool to each other.
Fair winds and following seas.
You've been listening to the Two Authors Podcast with Nicholas Harvey and Douglas Pratt. Subscribe on your favorite platform for new shows coming every week.